He is a 5-time Bassmaster Classic qualifier. He is a 5-time Bassmaster winner. Holds the all-time record for the biggest win margin in Elite Series history. Holds the all-time record for the biggest winning weight of smallmouth bass. Is a 3-time member of the Bassmaster Century Club, and he's not even 30 years old yet. Patrick Walters joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome all friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, and of course, my humpers. Happy hump day to all of you. I thank you for choosing to tune in here this week to the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. This is the 162nd edition of the Mercer Podcast, and I thank you for choosing to tune in here this week. It is a beautiful, it's the time of year, really. I'll be honest, where I live right now, this is the time of year where we're like, yes, this is why we live here. It is paradise right now. I mean, this past weekend, and let's talk about some positivity, because be honest, I have seen enough negative crap from the fishing world. I mean, contrary to popular belief, the sky is not falling. Life is good. We're all fishing for a living. And sometimes I think people have to remember that. Is everything perfect? No, probably not. Is anything perfect in anything? Probably not. But you're fishing for a living. Just say that to yourself. Well, you're going to get up and that's right, you're going to go fishing. And if you ask me, fishing heals all. And the more time we get to do it, the better human beings we become. I proved that to myself again this past weekend. I went fishing with my family, and I didn't even catch a fish. And I still proved it to myself. As I said, spectacular weather. We're laying around, just chilling out as a family. We go carp fishing. And a lot of people don't carp fish, but I mean, it is the most fun thing to do if you ask me. And I said, I didn't catch a fish. I watched my daughter catch him. I watched my wife catch him. I watched my son catch him. I did not catch one. Because that's how much fun it was. It is a great, I think sometimes in this crazy world where people want to argue about how much electronics should be on a boat in competition, how much of this and how much of that, and what is too much, where's the information coming from, who's living in the gray. You're living in the gray if you don't remember why we all fish. It's that excitement. It's that connection with nature. And I think every once in a while we could all use a day where we go and we just fish. Just that same way, without any fancy stuff. You just literally put corn on the end of a hook, fire it out there, hang out as a family, and then every once in a while you hear zzz on that reel, and it's on. Maybe that's too simple. I don't know. Maybe I'm too simple. But if you ask me, that's the amazing thing about fishing. That's the thing that I love. That's the thing that, as I've said, I mean, it's not just something that I want. It's something that I need in my life. And I think most of you feel the same. So let's not argue about crazy crap. Unless, of course, traffic is more important than what really matters. Because I think it is in some situations. But let's talk about a goodness. And this is just going to be an old-fashioned, decent podcast. I mean, we are not going to set anyone up. I'm not an investigative reporter. I'm just a dude who loves to fish, that talks to other people who love to fish. And this dude is lighting up the Bassmaster Elite Series. Really has since he arrived there. Actually, since before he arrived there when he won a collegiate championship. And that is Patrick Walters. So without further ado, I wish you happiness. I wish you health. I wish that you enjoy being every single day of your life. And hopefully, this next little while, this next little conversation with Patrick Walters will pass some of your day while you are hoping to go fishing. Well, some people are fishing for a living. Without further ado, the one and only Patrick Walters. It is always a good day when I get to speak with Patrick Walters. And what's up, dude?
I don't know it. Living the life, back home, catching up with little Shep, little man. Feels good to be home for a couple days. It's been a busy start to the season. I feel like the first trip at the beginning of the year, I was gone for 5.5 weeks. That
Ooh.
was a long time. And then we went to Florida for 2 weeks, and then we just got done. I was gone for 2 weeks for the Carolina swing. We had Murray for the
Yeah.
Elite, and then I went straight to the MPFL in Hartwell. And so it's every time I've been gone this year, I feel like it's been 2 to 3 week trips at least. So it's feels good to kind of sit at home for a little bit, catch up, and we actually get to celebrate a holiday at home, Memorial Weekend this weekend. So feels good to catch up.
What happens for you? Explain Memorial Day weekend for me? Like, if I were to come stay with you this weekend, what festivities would we get up to?
That's a good question. We're going to be on a boat somewhere. It's either going to be on the lake or we're going to go to the beach this weekend. Not sure. Depends on what the old lady wants to do. It's kind of dependent on her nowadays. And so we're going to probably be eating hot dogs, sitting on a beach, sitting in the water, cold drinks, good times, Probably going to boil some crawfish this weekend. I've been craving some crawfish. So probably going to go. Come on now, Dave. You know them crawl papers get you fired up.
I know. I
Come on
can't
now.
do it, dude. Food that defecates on me while I eat it is just.
Hey, doesn't defecate. He's done.
What's all that stuff in your fingernails?
Oh, that's just, you just got to gnaw that right out. That's that good stuff. You don't have to suck the head, but whoo, them crawl pappies get me going.
Yeah. Not for me. I've tried. I have tried.
Well, if you want to come down, we don't have to do the crawfish. We can do some fried chicken. We can do a big old cookout, whatever you want.
Okay.
Come on down. Enjoy it one time.
It's
going to be hot, though.
How hot?
It'll just be in the 90s. It actually won't be that bad.
Yeah, but it's not bad when you're relaxing.
It's not bad if you're moving. If you're in the boat, you're moving, and you're in the shade, and you're in the water, it's not bad. Yeah, if you're fishing and you're like sitting in a slick calm, that's when them 90-degree days get cooking.
Standing on a black stage.
Oh, I don't know how you do it on an asphalt parking lot. Yeah, Dave, I'm just saying. Yeah, you're gonna look like a crawfish after Alabama coming up in 3 weeks.
Looking forward to it. To
Alabama in June. Woo, buddy. It's gonna be warm. I hope they got you in the shade somewhere.
Probably not. I swear to you, when I saw it on the schedule, I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, no.
We all did. We all did. We're like, oh, it's a typo. That'll be addressed in the next email. It wasn't.
How's it gonna fish? Wheeler going to be the better of the two, you think? Or,
to tell you the truth, I think Wheeler will be better overall weight wise on the higher side, more largemouth that side. I think the weights will be more consistent at Smith. There's a ton of spotted bass in there. I think everybody will have 10 to 12 pounds, which isn't crazy, but I think, if you get to 14, 16 pounds, that'll really be the good side. Wheeler's just, I'm going to say 17 a day wins Wheeler probably. That's just that time of year. Somebody's going to bust a 20 through 23 pound bag and then follow it up like a 14 and then maybe like a 16 and then somewhere in there. So I think if you do 17 pounds a day at Wheeler, I could see limits being really hard to catch there. If they're not pulling water that time of year, it's going to be slow.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. It's going to be slow. But it's going to be wonderful. Somebody's going to win. And you, my friend, need to hammer. This Alabama swing is if you look at our Angler of the Year race, Trey McKinney's got like a 30-point lead on Jordan Lee, which you would expect. Jordan going to be a player in the Alabama events. You would assume he's a player everywhere, but definitely there. You got those pesky Johnston brothers in the mix. Everybody picked you. Everybody, did you see at the beginning of the season our panel of people that have moved the hole that makes the words, like Zona, myself, Davey, everybody. It was either you or Choya that picked you as Angler of the Year, but you can still get right back in this, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. We're still gonna have it. We're still gonna make it interesting. We're gonna have to really finish strong the rest of the season. We're probably gonna have to top 10 out, just to have a chance. Which it's possible. We've got 4 tournaments left too in Alabama. I've been to both of those, like both of those, and then Champlain and St. Lawrence, like both of those as well. So, things are looking good. you just, man, to win A.O.Y, you got to have a flawless season all the way around. You really do. And Florida
Yeah.
just had me this year. I made the right decisions, did not execute in the down there. Like, that's really how it goes. I mean, that's how close you are away from a great tournament and a great season. Because if I'd have caught some fish down there, then we'd be top 5 A.O.Y probably right now. But that's fishing. It keeps you humble. It kind of lights that fire back under you. When you do bad, you're like, you better step it up.
You said if you did, so did you have the fish hooked or just didn't
At Harris
execute?
Chain on day one, I did. I lost like a 6 or 7 pounder, and then I lost a 3.5, and so I had like 22 pounds that first day. And just with that bag, I'd have made the cut. And day two, I made bad decisions, lost a couple fish. I only weighed in 7-something pounds, typical Florida bag on day two. So if I'd have caught him the first day and then caught the 7, I still would have made the top 50 cut. But I made bad decision on day two and just didn't do it. And then at St. John's, I did something completely different. I went to somewhere I'd never have been. I found a bunch of good ones on bed, and I thought I could catch 20 to 23 pounds. And I ran the other way that I usually fish, and went over there and I caught 10 pounds of bucks. And so that was just kind of this. It was 50-50. You know, it was a coin toss. And once you go one way at St. John's, it's such a big fisher, you don't have enough time to adapt. You don't have enough gas, basically. And so just made a bad call there, and then tried to rally day two and only caught 12 pounds. So that's fishing. I mean, it's that close. You can know where they're at, know how to catch them, but you got to be there to do it.
Does it affect you at all when I mean, did you even notice that the majority of the Bass on Air staff picked you as Angler of the Year #1? And if you did notice, does it affect you in any way? Like what?
Sometimes, I mean, you look at it and you're like, well, they believe in you. You know, they got confidence in you. But honestly, it's something you just don't even you pay attention to it, and you're like, that means they got confidence in you. But at the same time, it's going to be what it's going to be. You got to just go fishing. You can't let that bother you, or you can't really think about it, because at the end of the year, you're going to win A.O.Y or you're not.
Yeah.
So you can't let your entire season be dictated by what people are saying or the one end goal. It's just you got to fish one day at a time. That's how I look at it. We're not looking at Smith yet. We're looking at just Wheeler. We're not looking back at any of the past tournaments. We're just looking what's the next tournament day. So it's just if you do one day at a time and you get through the season, then at the end of the year, if you have a great year, you have a great year. That's how I look at it. It's try not to get caught up in the whole thing, because the big picture is a lot. I mean, it's a lot to take in. It's overwhelming. So it's a lot easier to kind of focus, narrow your focus down, and it helps you.
Which motivates you more, hearing something like that, or if you were to hear the same group of people be like, yeah, he's not going to catch him up north. There's no way he's going to catch him. Never mind up north. He's not going to catch him in Alabama. If you watch a video with the same group of people saying he's going to get squashed in Alabama,
those get me fired up. I love like doubt fuels me. I mean, that's how it should fuel anybody. If somebody doubts you or doesn't believe in you, you're like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I mean, that's just how it should be. So yeah, but if somebody's doubting you, you're like, I'm about to catch them, no doubt.
Do you have a doubter that stands out in your mind? Like not from a specific tournament, but I mean, everybody that fishes the elites, anybody that fishes for a living, the first time they told people they were going to do that, everybody said, yeah, you can't do that.
There's a lot of people in the past that like would do that. I mean, you would hear like, I'm gonna fish professionally, and they're like, okay, yeah, like good luck, you know, but they did not really believe you were going to do that. And to be where we're at today, it is kind of surprising. But no, there's not one specific person that stands out. Probably the biggest doubter is probably social media. If you want to get doubted by somebody, put something on social media like, I'm gonna make it. They'd be like, go read the comment section. The comment section these days was just crazy.
People are ornery.
Yes, they are.
It turns out that I honestly worry. I mean, I look at you just became a father. I mean, I look at how it keeps changing. Like it's one of the most, I mean, it's amazing. You see amazing things happen on social media, but it's got to be one of the most destructive things that's ever been made. Like,
absolutely. I mean, it's such a great and useful tool at times, because it's like you said, you know, I'm a father now, and you can see the baby, and you're in Canada. I mean, so you can keep up with people's lives that you're not physically close to, of like you're in Canada, I'm in South Carolina, and it's like you can keep in contact with people.
Yeah.
The information is so overwhelming of how like the news and stuff, but that's also the same problem. It's just it is overwhelming and there's just so much on there. And it's just that's why honestly the best thing to do with it sometimes is just block it out and just go fishing. The more you pay attention to it, the more you look at it, the worse it gets. So you just kind of got to stay in your lane.
Yeah. You seem to be fishing a lot. I mean, I think you've always fished a lot, but it seems like with everything you're doing, obviously at Bass, everything you're doing at MPFL, are you intentionally staying very busy at this point in your career?
Yes. I actually don't fish as much at home as I should. I don't pre-fish much. I don't fish when I'm at home too much. I'm gonna fish these next couple of weeks. I think the shellcracker are spawning, so I do want to go get some shellcracker. But during right now, I mean, I'm young. I've got the energy to do it. I want to fish as many tournaments as I can. That's why I want to fish the PFL. I want to fish the elites. I mean, the elites is the bread and butter. That's where all my eggs are in that basket. But I just feel like you got to fish as much tournaments as you can. And then once my family we get established, we're in a new house, my kids get older. That's when I kind of want to slow down. And hopefully, I've kind of established myself as an angler in the in professional fishing, and then I don't have to fish as many tournaments. And you can kind of be choosy where it's like I'm just fishing the elites. You can do some of the shows, and your sponsors are happy. It's that's the thing. It's you got to make everybody happy in this world, and it's make all my sponsors happy, whether it's from fishing, whether it's from cashing checks, whether it's promoting them, and so you once your family gets grown up a little bit and you want to go to ball games and stuff like that, that's when I want to be home more, and do that stuff. So that's why I'm gonna try to hit it hard as you can for a while, and then when get a little bit older, just kind of slow down. I say that, but I do enjoy catching bass.
You've hit it pretty hard for a guy that hasn't been around that long, really. Like when you read through your statistics, 5 wins. I mean, you made the top 5 in the very first Elite Series event you fished. What would if we had the ability? We don't, but if we had the ability to get inside the head of you that first day on the St. John's River when you're backing in your boat, you're about to become an Elite Series pro, fish your first ever Elite Series event. If we could get in that person's head and he could see 5.5 years ahead to today, what does that dude think?
It gives you chills. I really don't know. I mean, it's like I said, it's so hard to think ahead sometimes. I mean, you want to be the best. You want to do the best that you possibly can, and you want to. Honestly, you don't know if you're going to make it. You might not be there for 2 years. I mean, but you don't tell yourself that because you tell yourself, I'm going to make it. You have to have whatever. If you talk yourself into it, you can do it. Oh, hands down. It's like fake it till you make it is true. I mean, I'm going to be a professional fisherman. I'm going to catch them. And hopefully I'm going to be there for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't think we're going to be there for 50, like Mr. Rick. Kudos to Mr. Rick. He is an inspiration. I don't think my body can handle that. I really don't know how he does it. But I don't even know what he would be thinking. I'm so ADD. It would just be. I mean,
he'd be pretty happy with the results.
Oh, he would be extremely happy.
If I had said to you that first morning launching, hey, dude, in 5.5 years, you're going to have the all-time record for the biggest smallmouth bass weight ever to win. I mean, that's cool. You're going to have the all-time record for the biggest win margin. You're going to win 3 elites. You're going to win 2 opens. Not bad.
Not too shabby. I probably would have been like, that's it. I'm just kidding. No, that's absolutely amazing. And see, you can't predict that stuff. And that's why it's fishing. You don't know how things are going to turn out. You don't know when you're going to catch them or how you're going to catch them. Every time you think you're about to catch them is typically when you don't catch them. So it's just to look back and to see that it's been good so far, but I don't like looking back yet. I'm not to that point in my career. I don't want to look back and reflect on anything yet. It's just we're heading forward. This boat's in gear right now. We're not looking back yet.
So you said fake it till you make it. When do you think you stopped faking it? When in your head were you like, I guess I truly am a pro angler?
I don't know. I just feel like it's like, man, people want to talk to me about fishing. It's like, yeah, I enjoy it, but it's like we're all just average guys. It's just I feel like when you do this for a living and your life revolves around it, it kind of consumes you. So I don't know, you just kind of keep rolling with it. Maybe when I retire one day, Hopefully we make it to the Hall of Fame. That's the goal. It's like you want to win A.O.Y, win a Bassmaster Classic, get inducted into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. That's when you know you're like, wow, we made it. I mean, that's an honor.
Watching your buddy win the Bassmaster Classic this year, what was that like for you? Like, what was going on in your head when that was happening?
That was amazing. I mean, that's what dreams are made of, truly, because that's like the grassroots of bass fishing. That is truly, you fake it till you make it, no matter where you come from, no matter where you're at, no matter what your ability is. Um, to be able to win the Bassmaster Classic, it's amazing, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. I love Justin. He is a great dude, great fisherman. He's probably one of the best fishermen out there that you don't really think about. Just the amount of knowledge he's got, and like he can catch some smallmouth, he can catch spotted bass, he can catch largemouth, deep, shallow. It doesn't matter. And that's how all these fishermen are nowadays. They're just versatile fishermen, and that's what it takes. And the classic suits him perfect. It really does. So it honestly doesn't surprise me that he won, because it's like he's just so laid back. He's just like, he'd probably be in the first two sentences of this conversation, but we've already had this podcast. We're already like 10 topics deep. Y'all would still be on the first topic, like, how's your day going? He would still be talking about it. And like, he just drives. He does drive a little fast, but sometimes. But everything he does, he just moves slow, and he doesn't get stressed about anything. And so that's why the classics there's so much that goes into the Bassmaster Classic, like the 3 days of practice, 2 off days, official practice, media day, and it's ever changing. And he just rolls into an area and just picks it apart. And I'm like over there running around with my chicken with the head cut off. And that works sometimes, and a lot of times it doesn't. In the Classic, it has not worked yet. For 5 times, it has not worked. So we might have to change the methods of madness.
Why do you think Hamner really seems to have come into his own? I mean, I feel like that most people believed he had what it takes to make it here for a number of years, but he didn't come out of the gates firing like you did.
No, I think it's confidence. I think it's in his ability. He had the ability from day one. I think it's just you don't know it.
Yeah.
And when you're like, you got a lot of going on. You're trying to provide for your family. Entry fees. I mean, entry fees are 45. You still got me?
I got you.
And entry fees are still $45,000. I mean, it's a lot of money, and then sponsors and everything. And so it's like you're worried about a lot of different things at the time. And so I think when you finally get that little taste of success and you're finally starting to do good, you've made some top tens, you're doing good to consistency, you made the classic. He's like, man, I can do this. You get that confidence in yourself, like, hey, it's just fishing. And then when you think about it's just fishing and you relax and you're having a good time, that's when you get dangerous. When you see somebody who's like, they're in a good headspace, watch out. If you see a guy who's stressing, he's worried about a lot of stuff, there's so much stuff going on. I mean, we've seen it 100 times. It's very hard for those individuals to. I always say too, when you get on the water, you got to block things out. When you're on the water, you're clocking into your job. You got to focus just on fishing. When you're on the water and you're thinking about everything back at home, it's tough. And I think he finally's got where he's solely focused on it, and he's cracking them now. He's down. He's able to focus on his home life when he's home, because when he goes home, I have a hard time getting a hold of him. We won't talk for 3 weeks, and then fishing time comes, we talk 10 times a day. So it's just when you focus on certain things.
Tell me about the way you focus, because I think that's one of the most underestimated things, because I think fishing's such a recreational thing. I think people compare it to what they do, to the tournaments they do. But when you guys are competing, I mean, what percentage of your brain is focused? Like, do you drift off at all throughout the day, or are you literally
Sometimes.
focused on the next cast?
It's the next cast. It's really, I'm focusing on what's happening right now. What am I looking at? I'm trying to consume all the variables that's going on. The water clarity, water temperature, what kind of bugs are in the air? What are the clouds doing? What are the fish doing? What are my next 5 spots going to be? I mean, fishing is a chess match. It really is sometimes. You got to be thinking your next couple moves ahead, because I want to sample these fish. I want to see how good this bite is before I go down here on this end of the lake. I've got to make sure nobody else hits them before I hit them. I want to give these fish time to kind of settle down before I swing back and approach them, because you're not always beating up your best spot sometimes. Like, I might be doing a big circle. It's so many things, and it's just kind of honestly, I don't know how you think about it. It's like you just kind of your brain's got to be wired different. And not in a good way. I've always tell Tanner, it's like I'm built different. You know that saying, I'm built different, but not in a good way. It's not in a good way. It's just always just scattered. So you're always just thinking about day 2, day 3 sometimes. You don't want to save any fish necessarily. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, because the Elite Series, they're the best guys in the world. They're the best fishermen, hands down. They're going to find the winning fish at every stop. No matter where we go, they're going to be on them. So if you got something that's really good, you got to go to it. If you think it's going to be enough to win, you got to go straight to it. I've tried saving fish before, and it doesn't work. So there's a lot of strategy into it, and kind of how you make your rotation and when you do stuff. I wish I had an answer that would really kind of be like, oh wow, that's what he does. But I throw 1,000 darts at a board and then something's gonna stick.
But on your mind, like from the hours of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., how many times do you leave the body of water? Like, because I'm an idiot. Like when I'm focused, when I'm emceeing, and I only have to do it for a few hours. I mean, you think I'm thinking of like what a next question is or whatever, but I mean, dude, I'm all over the place. Like I wish there was a machine that would show what I was thinking at the time of question.
That's dangerous, Dave. Don't create that.
It would definitely be
We'd all get in
pay-per-view.
But no, it definitely drifts off sometimes, but not too much during the tournament day. And I think that's why fishing is so mentally exhausting. And it's
Yeah.
exhausting because it is physically tiring because you're out there. I'm picking the trolling motor up a bunch of times. You're making a lot of casts, but it's more mentally exhausting because you're like hyper focused for that 8 to 9 hours a day. That's what it is, and that's why when you get off water, you're just like, I mean, you're just because of so much. Especially when we're at Murray or something, you're looking for schooling fish. You're looking at your graph. You're looking at your next cast, thinking about all your spots. I mean, it's so much going on, and if you're not paying attention all the time, you're just gonna miss that next bite, and that next bite could be the bite. So it's just that I think it's more mentally exhausting sometimes than it is physically.
And there's no let off. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you think about it, like if you're a baseball player, you get that opportunity to relax for a second. I mean, you're thinking about the game, sure. If you're a football player, you're still thinking about the game. If you're offense, when the defense on the field, you're still thinking about the game. But there's a second where you can let your guard down. Where
you're on the sidelines, you're on the bench, you're riding the pine for a minute. You can take a deep breath. When you're fishing, I feel like the walls are always closing in on you. Like, because that's the time. You have 8 hours. So, I mean, you were running out of time. So you have to make those decisions nonstop. And we don't get a timeout because if somebody else is out there fishing at the same time, he's catching them. That's what you're thinking about. You don't know what everybody else has. And that's what's interesting is like, I can't take a break. If I'm going to drink or eat something on the water, I'm doing it while I'm running to my next spot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to be efficient as you possibly can. That's how I feel. I mean, I feel like I need to make as many casts as I possibly can. I got to optimize my time. I mean, you just have to be efficient because somebody's going to beat you doing it. So it's like, I'm not going to sit down and eat a sandwich and take a deep breath. If I do that, I've got them. Like, it's over by that time.
It's true that the pressure of the reason a baseball player can chill out for a split second is because he knows there's nothing he can do at that moment to affect the outcome of the game. But as an angler, anytime you take away in your head, you're like, well, right now
I could be catching them.
So-and-so's blasting them somewhere. It's tough. Yeah, it seems like a sick, weird sport, really.
It is. It's gambling. I mean, it is high stakes.
Very much so. Very much so. Does that bother you about the sport? Because you already brought it up, like the pressure of $45,000 worth of entry fees. I mean, it is, and I always use the analogy. I'm like, if you're a baseball player and you're making league minimum, you're still making more than most of the people you went to high school with. You're still doing good. You don't think so. If you're pitching against a guy who's getting paid $20 million, you're not thinking of finances. But in this sport, you got to think about it certain times. I mean, there's a lot of times where, hey, I need to lay up and make $10,000 this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's times when you're like, I need to make sure I get a check. And it's usually like on day 2, you're like, well, I only need 12 pounds, to stay in check range. I'm gonna try to catch me 12 pounds. And I hate doing that though, because every time you do that, you do something different. I mean, it was like at St. Lawrence last year. It's like I only needed 20 pounds to get to the Century Club. I only needed 20, and so I was like, that's easy. I was like, we're at St. Lawrence. I was like, I got 4 spots I can go catch 20 pounds on. And what did I do? I tried to lay up and go catch 20 pounds, and you just don't do that. And I wasted like 4 hours, and they just didn't bite that day. And I should have went straight to the juice and caught them. And so I don't like doing that. You fish different that way. If you try to lay up and just get to that certain number that you're wanting, you're not reaching your capability. You're not at the apex. You're not doing as well as you possibly should. And so that's why I feel like you should always just go for it. Really. I mean, and if you don't, then you can always fall back. Because every time I've tried to just go for the layup and just get the right there at the check weight or get whatever the weight I wanted to, it never works out. You gotta go have fun. You gotta go for the gusto.
I had a veteran pro once tell me this, and when you really think about it, I mean, at initial thought, I know how this sounds bad to certain people, but his theory was that going to $10,000 for 50th place is one of the worst things a competitor can have in front of them. Because in his
Without a
opinion,
doubt.
he said, my whole life, whether it was a fruit jar tournament, a Tuesday night jackpot, whatever it was, I've only focused on winning ever. And that's always been the goal. And there is times, he admitted, there's times when you can't win, but you can survive this tournament, but you're
Yes.
still trying to win. And he said from the moment that it went to $10,000 for 50th place, a lot of people, because of the finances of sport, started fishing a lot different.
It's true.
And I agree that, I mean, trust me, I'm going to lose my job one day fighting for anglers over, you know what I mean? Because I'm always,
It's a lot.
but when you think about it like that, I mean, it does make sense.
It does. I mean, because you're like, well, I got $700 tied up in housing this week. I got $500 in fuel. I mean, and you're like, that 10 grand check looks nice. I mean, I'm 5 grand in entry fee. So it's like, cutting that 10 grand check is going to make a difference. But it's like when you shoot for it, you fish differently. You're fishing, you're fishing for the fish that aren't going to be the fish to guarantee you to get that check.
Yeah.
You're fishing for those 2 pound fish or something. It's like there's so many situations. Everywhere we go, there's a situation where you're like, I could probably just go do this and get a check. It's probably guaranteed, but that's never the right thing. I feel like every time you do that, it never works out right on cue. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. If you really kind of go for it and you kind of go for the win or do what you think you can catch your biggest bag in, like you said, if you don't catch them and say you lose 1 or 2 bites, hopefully you'll still be in that check range. And that's how it's been. I mean, I really don't shoot for check range. You try to shoot to do. I try to catch. I'm not going to say I shoot for the win every single time. You want to win. I shoot to go catch the most bass that I physically can catch and the biggest bass on each body of water I go to. And if that ends up winning, that ends up winning. I, there's certain things that people say, I shoot for the win. I shoot to catch whatever I think I can possibly catch. If I think I can catch 27 pounds in that body of water, I'm going to try to catch 27 and a half. Like when we go to Lake Murray, I'm not necessarily fishing for the win. I'm fishing that I thought 20 pounds a day was going to give you a chance.
Yep.
It was like, if you get to 20 pounds a day, you'll be in contention. So I was like, I want 20 every single day, and then everything above that is bonus. And I'm gonna not stop at 20, but I'm just gonna keep going and keep digging. And every day it's just like you catch a little bit more. And so it's just like that's always I catch what I think that lake or that river has a possibility of putting out. That's how I fish.
At Lake Murray, dude, you dominated that event. Like, I mean, and I feel like in some ways, more so that you set the record on Fork for the biggest win margin, and that was obviously dominance and a dawning of a new day in bass fishing. A lot goes on
That
with
changed
that.
a lot of things.
Changed a ton of things. But it felt like Marie felt like, I mean, the tournament happened exactly how every prognosticator predicted going into it. If you remove you from the tournament, if you look at the weight to win second place, but like, were you shocked? When did you know that you were on the kind of fish that could do that?
day 3 of
Not
the
till day
tournament.
3.
Not till day 3. No, I mean, practice was actually really tough. Um, what happened was last year we fished there. And that's my favorite bite. I love herring spawn. I love fishing for schooling fish. Like that is how I grew up fishing. My first ever bass tournament was on Lake Murray, so I've got a lot of history there. And we fished there last year, but there was too many other patterns going on that were really good. There was, the shallow cranking bite, the shallow top water bite, the bed fishing bite was absolutely amazing. And so that was the problem. The bed fishing bite ended up what won the tournament because there's so many quality fish on Lake Murray, and it's hard to compete if there's another bite that's going on that's a little bit better than another bite because somebody's going to get on it and they're just going to run with it. And last year I did good. I fished for my same fish, the schooling fish, different areas. Of course, that the lakes changed. It kind of where like the regions are at. And I ended up finishing 4th. Had a great tournament. Caught them how I wanted to catch them. And then going to this one, I was actually worried about it. I was like, man, the goal is to catch 20 every single day. Post spawn, if you can do that, that's really good. But we were coming off a lot of pressure. The fish were broke up. They weren't schooling good. It was hard to get them to eat. You'd go look at them on the points, and they were just they weren't sitting on spots or anything. They were just kind of roaming, and I was like, man, it's getting kind of late. I think it's going to be tough. I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to catch them. And going into that after practice, I found like 2 or 3 good spots that had good schools on them. And at that time, I was willing to sit on one spot like all day because I was like, I can catch 20 if I sit here all day. And ran there day 1. Ended up starting with Scott Martin. He was on the spot. He came in there after me and we were fishing together. I caught me 6 fish there, caught me 1 big one, and the bait wasn't there. And I was like, I sat there for an hour and something, and I was like, it's not working. I was like, this is not how it's going to go down. I was like, I'm going to start running around. And as soon as I did that and started running and gunning, it was like every spot I pulled up to, I caught a good one. Caught a good one doing this. And kind of started sampling the waters of where it was good. And it was just, when I say it's your time, I truly believe it's your time because my timing was just crazy that week. I mean, I pull up on the biggest community hole every day, no matter when I wanted to go to a certain spot sometimes. Very seldomly were there people on it. Everybody was fishing them at times, but like I would just like run down the lake. I'd be like, oh, nobody's on that spot. And I'd pull over there. I'd set the boat down and they'd come up schooling. And I'm like, it's just like meant to be. And then just the decision making. I knew day 2 was going to be the toughest day. That if I could catch 20 that day, I was going to have a chance to win. After starting off with 25 pounds, I was like, that's going to be a bag that's going to help carry us. But I was like, if we could survive day 2, Saturday in the South, a ton of boats, slick calm conditions, local pressure from other tournaments like that. I was like, if we can survive that day, we'll be good to go. And it started out, had a really good morning, caught a bunch of fish, ended up catching 19 pounds. That was my lowest day, but I was elated with 19 pounds. I mean, that was really good for day 2. I knew I was like, we should be good to go. And each day I would just kind of fish different spots, and they were moving so much. Every day they were kind of moving to certain areas, and certain spots were getting better, certain spots were getting worse, and it was just truly just stayed with them. It was just everything kind of meshed. It was perfect.
It really was as close to a perfect tournament as you can have. Lee Livesey said on stage, he hates losing to you. Is the feeling mutual?
It is mutual sometimes because it's like we got that grudge, and I love Lee to death, and that's what you need. You need that battle between somebody sometimes because it makes both people perform better. If you have another angler, another player, and you're like, man, I want to beat that guy, it makes both of you better fishermen in general because you're both striving to do better. And like the time he won at Fork one time, it was my best school I found. The last one he won when he caught him on the big spoon. It's like I would graph for that whole term. I found that school and I didn't realize it was that good. And I went to go hit it like day 2 or something, and he was on it. And I was like, I hope he doesn't win right there. And sure enough, he did. And I did because he was on it. I never went back to it. I was like, I'm not going to fish it. But I was like, I really hope it's not that good a group of fish, And it was. And it's just like I love when he wins because you support him and you love him, and then you're like, but man, it was like on something I was fishing too, and it's just like it makes you the competition that much sweeter and better.
How often does that happen? Not to you specifically, but how often does somebody win a tournament and people know that area? Like, did you?
I'd say it's a good bit of times. It was there's only a couple situations where somebody's like the whole field's left clueless, and I'd say that one time at Fork, the first one
Yeah.
I won, that was the only time where I had the lake to myself. I mean, that was the only time I could run around. I could fish behind anybody, fish any spot. Other than that one time, and it showed because like you said, the margin. But other than that, the entire field knows every single spot. I was fishing behind people at Murray. I wasn't fishing anything sneaky. That's the thing. There is some hidey holes there, but it's hard to catch big bags of fish on that stuff. You can catch fish, but it's like it's got to work out. And so there's people, the whole field knows about it, because not the whole field, but there's somebody who's fishing that spot, sharing that spot with you. These anglers are the best in the world. They're gonna find the winning fish at every tournament. So it's every single tournament. So you're sharing that water with somebody.
What's the best thing about being a professional angler?
Gosh, I don't even know where to start. I'd say being able to do what you love for a living. That's what they say. If you do what you love for a living, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's true. If I didn't have to worry about emails and stuff like that, and keeping up with that stuff, that would be nice. But I mean, I get to play with tackle all the time. You know, I talk with sponsors and I'm talking about baits. I mean, who doesn't love? That's like a kid in a candy shop. It is. I'm going out there and you're playing with crankbaits and jerk baits and soft plastics. I mean, it's just like, who wouldn't want to lay down in a giant bed of Zoom baits? You know, like that's just to being able to do what you love and fishing for a living. And I love traveling. I love seeing the countryside. I love seeing these different bodies of water, and being able to do that, and make a living at it is truly amazing.
What's the most frustrating part about being a pro angler?
I'd say sometimes it goes back to exactly what I just said. It's time away from home. I love traveling, I do, but sometimes it's inconvenient timing. Of like we travel on a lot of holidays, which I mean that is what it is. Um, Especially when you have a newborn son. We got our son now, Shep. He's 3.5 months old. Um, when he was born, I was home for a week and a half, and then I was gone for 5.5 weeks. That's unfortunate timing. That was probably bad timing on our part of when he was born. But
Well, no, you can't control when he's born.
you can't control when
he
born,
was made, you could
have. Exactly. So so you could probably plan ahead better than that. But that's just the other downside, is just time away from family. But also at the same time, we get 5-6 months off with your family. So I do spend a lot of time deer hunting, which is that's probably a personal thing, but um it's typically the same thing. But really no complaints. I mean, other than just a little bit of time away from family. Who doesn't want to make a living bass fishing?
You mentioned emails. You don't like that side of the business, do you? You'd rather that.
I'll tell you right now, Dave, hold on. 9,918 emails is what currently says I have to catch up on. Yeah, when I'm out of town, I don't look at them. I mean, it's the same way with text messages. If anybody's watching, I hadn't texted you back, I apologize. Let me show you. It's I do apologize. I'm at you're not gonna be able to see it. Oh no.
All I see is 87% battery.
1,470 something. I have text messages I had to catch up on.
1,400.
I'm terrible, Dave.
You're
oh my gosh. You're lucky I texted you back, Dave. You're lucky.
I have
You're
no
lucky.
idea how honored.
You
have
should
no
feel
idea how
grateful.
honored I am right now. Like,
Yes, I'm terrible.
I rated
I'm
above
terrible.
1,400. There's people in that 1,400 that you should have texted before
No
you
doubt.
texted me back.
Without a doubt. Yes, I 100% agree. That's what I'm saying. If anybody's watching and I had texted you back, call me. I will answer a phone call. But yeah, my wife, it gets on her nerves, and I'm like, I know, I need to text back. I know. Every time I think about it, I'm just like,
I'm bad for texting people back, but not hitting send. Like I'm an idiot. Like because I've got ADD so bad. Like I'll give you the response. I take the time and put it in there, and then something happens, and like 2 days later, I'm like, why didn't that jackass get back to me? And I'll go look,
and you never sent it,
and it's still there. I just didn't hit send. So
that was you. They were like, God, they were mad at Dave.
Where do you think this sport goes in 10 years?
Wow, I couldn't tell you. I think we're definitely going to see some changing. I don't know. I really don't know how the sport can change. I mean, it changes monthly. I feel like I don't know. I would like to see the states start taking care of some of these fisheries a little bit better. With so much local pressure and so much tournaments, and I'd be happy to help in basket on board too. Just conservation side of things. All the lakes are in great shape, but just I would like to start like a restocking program. There's a lot of lakes that want to take grass out and stuff, and I feel like grass always helps fisheries.
Yeah.
Like look at Lake Murray, it's boomed. 10 years ago, it was not that good, but it's got grass in there now. As long as it doesn't intrude on the homeowners and they don't get upset, it's just that's why that lake's doing so good. It's got the fry, and the brim, the bait, and everything can survive in there, and then the lakes just flourish. So, I just like to see less spraying, less killing of the grass and vegetation, more stocking, whether it's bait or bass. Right now we're stocking grass carp and stripers in South Carolina. I mean, yeah, thank you. Why? Um, they say stripers are a big thing. I don't want to get in trouble, but it's like, why don't we stock some bass? There's more people that bass fish than striper fish. I think. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I could look like a fool, but it's like I would like to see the states stuff step in, more conservation side on that side, making the fisheries better because the revenue's there. I mean, how much? I mean, you may know the numbers better than I do, but the amount of revenue in the bass fishing industry that it draws to lakes and states it's unbelievable.
It's incredible. I mean, just look
It
at all
really is.
the areas you mentioned. Lake Fork earlier.
Yeah. Oh my
Lake Fork.
God.
If there's no Lake Fork, all
No.
of those communities that are around, nobody even knows that. And this isn't an insult. It's just you look at what one thing proven: people will travel. Chickamauga, lots of places.
will.
O.H.
Yes.
Ivy's a prime example. I mean that you have to put in an effort to get to that. But if the fishing's good, people will travel.
They'll travel 100%. So that's why if we could get all of the fisheries in the country that good, I mean, it would be amazing. So that's what I'd like to see is just the all the fisheries across the state get better. I don't want to go somewhere and we be complaining like, man, this like sucks. We're not gonna catch them this week. It's like I want to be like, man, when you see a couple of those on the schedule, you're like, it's gonna be a slugfest. When we go to St. Lawrence, you got to catch them. If you don't catch 24 pounds a day, you might not get paid. And so going into tournaments like that, you're like, it just shows you how great those fisheries, how healthy they are, and that's what I'd like to see. I'd just like to see a lot of healthy fisheries.
How old are you?
29, I think. 29, yeah.
I would have said 20. I thought you were 27, 28, but 29.
I know I'm getting old, Dave. I know.
But it feels like you're getting older quicker. Like
I know, trust
10
me.
years ago, a 29-year-old who would accomplish what you've accomplished, everybody be like, and he is 5 years from his prime. And with what's happening in bass fishing, does it feel like to you that 29 is a lot older than 29 was 10 years ago?
Yes, 100%. The ages are going to change. I feel like from the level of English coming in, we've already seen that. Look how young the rookies are. We're getting younger rookies, and I think the top side, the kind of the guys at the end of their careers, that number is going to get a little bit younger as well. Where it used to be 65, it's probably going to go down to like 50.
Why is that happening?
I just think
everyone's going to say electronics, but it's more, right?
Yeah, it's more than just electronics. I think it's just people that are in their prime necessarily. There's better anglers coming around now, so it's like the field is completely stacked. Back in the day, you all used to hear it was like you were fishing against 20% of the field, or 15% of the field, or 30% of the field could win. Nowadays, it's like 80% of the field is fishing to win. And that's why you see so many different winners nowadays, because it's like the entire field is great fishermen, that they could win on any body of water. Typically, you just had an angler who's like, he would win if they went to his home pond or something like that. But now it's like, no matter where you go, the anglers are getting better. The technology's better. The drive's there. I mean, people they're fishing more. And so that's what it is just, it's a change throughout, I think.
There's people saying with with this rookie class, obviously getting a lot of hype and deservedly so. I mean, what they've accomplished is, I mean, I find it amazing because we started the season and I was like, well, there'll never, I mean, I said it. You can't hold a candle to last year's rookie class. I mean, last year's rookie class won 4 out of 9 events were won by a rookie. Joey Cifuentes won 2 of those, but it's still 4 rookie wins. Well, you look at this year, we've already had 2 rookie wins.
Yep.
And it's like an odd top 10 when there's not at least 3, 4, or 5 of them in the top 10. But a lot of people are pointing that at technology. A lot of people are pointing that at their work ethic. And there's a lot of people saying that fishing's going to change. You won't be able to go hunting all fall.
I agree. The hunting all fall is probably going to have to slowly change. I hunted way too much this fall, but I think what a lot of it has to do is when I was a rookie, um, I fished 300 days a year almost. I felt like it was all fall, all spring. You were fishing as much as possible. But as you get older, I, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but after you've been there for a couple of years, you kind of get complacent. You
It's
really do.
natural.
It is natural. I mean, you've been there for a couple of years. You're now a senior. You feel like, um, you start hunting a little bit more. You're not fishing in the fall as much. You're kind of you don't have that same work ethic that you had. And so I do think that work ethic is there. You don't have that drive. When you're a rookie, you're like, you've got to prove yourself. You got to perform. You got to catch them. And so you go that extra mile. You're doing the fishing research and doing all that stuff. And that's where those rookies are coming in. They have that motivation right now. And I like that. I do, because it fires me back up, because I was getting complacent. And after that 2 Florida tournaments, and then you hear all the stuff going on and stuff, and then you're like, they're working hard, they've got that drive. And so like I sit back and I'm like, why am I not catching them? And I'm not catching them because I got complacent, I got lazy. That's what it is. I'm not focusing as hard as I should. And I feel like everybody should just, like I said, stay in their lane. If you worry about yourself and not worry about anybody else, you're gonna do fine. And so that's when it just kind of, you kind of got to get mad at them, and you got to do what you're going to do. I got to get my head out of the gutter of like, you got to stop being lazy. You got to start doing fishing research again. You got to start putting in work, and you got to catch them. And so that's kind of what happens is like, if, if if the rookies weren't catching them and we were all kind of doing okay, and I made a couple top tens, man, I'd be lazy as a dog right now. I'd be like, who cares? Probably wouldn't have won Murray. But those rookies, it's like we were talking about with Lee. Competition drives success, and that's what it takes. I mean, when them rookies come in there, they get you fired up because they have that drive, and that's what you need. Is you need that young blood in there to get you going.
So even an angler like you, who just a few months ago won the St. Lawrence River, you know what I mean, late last year, set an all-time record. The press and the hype around the rookies, was it starting to bother you? Like, and I don't mean in a bad way, but you're saying that that's what motivated you.
It didn't motivate me at first. I was like, man, it's just fishing. Like I
Yeah.
hunted a bunch, and then it was like, it is what it is. Had 2 good tournaments at the beginning of the year, and I was like, and I mean, I'm just riding off of like, I wasn't touching my stuff. I was just like taking it easy. Wasn't retying nothing. I'm talking about pure, just like, come on, you got to step it up. And then 2 Florida tournaments of just trying to skirt by, and it's like, you can't do that. You got to put in the work. You got to do the legwork. You can't get lazy on them. And then you hear all that stuff, but it's like, everybody's got to focus on themselves. It's like, if you're worried about somebody else, like I said, you're not compartmentalizing, you're not focusing on you, and you're not going to catch fish. And it shows that people who are fired up, is just your mind's not in the right space. And so you're just not catching them. Like we said, when you get on the water, you got to clock in, and you got to worry about fishing.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. And that fixes every problem in fishing. It literally, I mean, you start catching them again. It's amazing how I'm getting along better with my sponsors. I've got more. I mean,
they're happy. Family's happy, bringing big checks home. It's like everything starts flowing again.
you mentioned the fork tournament several times, and it did change a lot in our sport. It was kind of the coming out party for forward facing sonar with largemouth bass. I mean, I think we saw some stuff, with smallmouth bass in advance of that. But it was definitely the big coming out party, and the fact that you won it by the most weight ever. In this short, how many years ago was that? Was that 4 years ago?
I think it was 20. Yeah, that would have been 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Are you amazed that what has happened with it since then to today? Like, it has become from a thing that nobody talked about. Now it is the most polarizing topic in bass fishing. Friendships are being lost over it. People are, you know what I mean? Like, you can literally catch a giant fish and people be like, that's awesome. And then they find out
That's
you use
cheating.
forward facing.
That's
Like,
cheating. That's cheating. You're like, come on now. Listen, if you didn't use it right now, it's allowed. It's a technology that's proven. It's been allowed. It's been allowed for years. If you're not using it, you're getting beat. Okay. I make a living catching bass. That's how I put a roof over our head, feed my family. So it's like, I'm not going to turn it off to to be like, that's how manly catching them. I don't care how you catch bass. If Rick Clunn's using it and he's adapting to it, by golly, we can all use it. Okay. So, I mean, until something happens, like it's not cheating and say, unless something happens and then say next couple seasons, we're only allowed to use it for half the season or something like that. And if you're using it in a tournament when you're not allowed to use it, that's cheating. If it's not cheating, it's just another tool. By the way, modern reels are cheating, okay? Go back to a cane pole. I
Braided
mean,
line.
braided line, no doubt. The advancement in rods and everything advances. And so until something happens, stop complaining. I mean, hey, like I said earlier, mind your own business and everybody's going to be happy,
Do you think something will, like in your gut, what do you think happens next year?
I don't know about next year. I think we'll see a size reduction of the amount of inches we can have on our boat. Whether it's going to be 60 inches, 48 inches, 53 inches, something will happen just due to a pure safety factor. Because when you have 3/16s at the bow up there, that's actually kind of dangerous. I mean, you cannot see where you're going. I mean, and the average height of a fisherman nowadays, I feel, is like 5'10" and shorter. So you don't have a lot of 6-foot guys out there who could be able to see around them. So it's just pure safetyness. I think we'll see a reduction in screen limit size. I don't know what we're going to see per live sonar. But it's just like the Alabama rig. I mean, why did we outlaw the Alabama rig so quickly? Why didn't we outlaw spot lock? Spot lock's a great tool. What would you do without spot lock? We should have outlawed power poles. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we use those tools every single day.
Map chips. I mean,
Map chips. Oh my
like
God.
literally,
What would you do without map chips?
Somebody came and
Jesus.
said, we got to take things off your boat. That may be the thing I protect the most.
If
You know
they
what I
would have
mean?
said
Like,
map chips, yeah, you'd be like, what? How are you going to find fish? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so I see so many sides of it. I think sometimes it would be good if we had some tournaments where you didn't depend on it so much, because it is different where you have 10 guys doing the same thing and they're all in the same area. It's kind of boring. It is. And it doesn't make it exciting sometimes to go to a tournament and knowing like this is what you're gonna have to do to win. If you don't do this, you're not gonna catch them. And it's like, oh, like, okay. It's just not like it is different, but it's still bass fishing. I don't know. There's so many different things. That subject is, like you said, it's been the most talked about in the last 2 years than any other subject, because it is so polarizing. It's so controversial that you got hard left and hard right, and then it's just, what's it going to be? People are not really in the middle.
no, there's no middle ground. Very few people are like,
I'm in the middle. I feel like, I mean, I could go either way. I feel like the guys who are going to catch them, who are great fishermen, if you're a great fisherman, you're a person who can adapt to your surroundings, adapt to your fishing conditions, all of that. And so if they take it away, good fishermen will still succeed without a doubt. I don't care who it is. I don't care where they're from. They're going to catch them with it, and they're going to catch them without it. So it's like, it is what it is. Just stop complaining.
yeah, there's been a lot of complaining.
Yep.
It really has been a lot. I mean, people are building channels off of. I mean, what I'd love to see is if it becomes illegal or whatever. I mean, what are people going to talk about anymore? Because literally
I can only assume.
Do you see it in your social media? Do you see a lot of people, like when you won? Did you hear any? Or I mean, you didn't check text, so I'm sure you don't check social media.
I get on social media sometimes, and nothing really on my social media, but like you see like Bass post stuff, and you read some comments and stuff, and the comments are just hilarious. I mean, you just read the stuff honestly just to get a good laugh. That he wouldn't have caught those fish without forward vision sonar, stuff like that. But it's like, oh man, they were schooling. I mean, Ray Charles would have caught those. Like he would have just heard him be like, they're busting over there. Like so. And honestly, I think I'd have probably done better if we wouldn't have forward facing sonar. Just because
Really?
like at that tournament, I mean, I might not have caught as much weight, but I feel like it would have been the same, because like I know those spots, where those fish set up, how to catch schooling fish, and if nobody else would have had it, you ain't breaking that body of water down in 3 days. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. You ain't gonna know where those fish are at. If they're not schooling, you're not catching them. And that's where the art of that kind of fishing comes from, is being able to catch those fish before you knew where they were at. And so that's why it's like, I mean, I have spent a lot of time there, and how they set up. It's just like Lee at Fork. He knows how to catch them.
Yeah.
all those hard spots, all that stuff. And so it's like the thing with technology, it makes the whole field better as a whole.
Yeah.
They break a body of water down, and that's what's good for bass too. I mean, technology helps them because it makes that fishery look 10 times better. Because if not, then it's like the weights dramatically go down. The top is still going to catch that same weight probably because that guy knows that body of water or he gets on that special bite, but the cut weight goes down, the average weights, and so it just makes the fishery looks better. It makes that fishery want to pay bass. So it's like it makes everything look better as a whole because everybody knows where the fish are at. They find them.
And I just think technology's, and again, I think I'm in the middle. I honestly, I mean, I think it's fun to use. I think you do
We all
learn
like
a
it,
ton, but I fell in love with bass fishing long before
no doubt.
I had a graph. I mean, it's just a part of it. The weird thing that I can't judge is because when I talk to a lot of people, in college and stuff, I'm like, there's no hate around it there. Like the younger guys coming up, there's nobody says, or at least that I've heard from, none of them are like that. That's cheating. That's just, I mean, it's no different than
Well,
a
they're
cell
growing up
phone.
with it.
Like,
That's the age of technology. Those kids were brought up with technology. They know the ins and outs of everything. They know our phones better than we know our phones. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle line. It's like where you grew up with technology, but it wasn't that sophisticated, I feel like, at the time. But now those kids, when they get something, I mean, it's a tool. And so it's like they grow up with it. They're built around it. They know how to use it, and that's kind of how they fish. So I think honestly, if something happened, they would be at the biggest disadvantage because most of them didn't like on the professional side. Everybody grew up fishing without it, but it's like tournament fishing and breaking down a body of water they've never been to without it. I think would be the hardest setback for them. But like I said earlier, if you're a great fisherman, you can adapt, and technology is just a tool that helps you, and you'll find another tool.
is it all technical? Why is this year so different? Like if you look at our angler of the, and I don't know if you spent much time looking at it, but if you look at our angler of the year list, like I looked after the last tournament, and there is in the bottom 42, there is about 30 names that you are used to seeing in the Bassmaster Classic. Is it?
Bang.
Which is, I mean, that on itself, I mean, the sport is changing. Never mind the 9 rookies, because the 9 rookies don't equate for that number. But why is this year so much different?
I think there's just so much stuff going on this year, and like the technology. So many people fired about technology, fired up about everything about fishing right now. That it's just that's what they're focused on. And so
Yeah.
when like I said earlier, if your mind's not in the right space, you're not fishing right. And I think you just kind of get hell bent on the wrong subject, and it's just you got to just block everything out. At the end of the day, it's about you cashing checks and making your sponsors happy. And so that's what you got to do. No matter what you have to do to get there, just you better be able to buckle down and block some stuff out and catch them.
You don't seem to be one of those guys who spends a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot of debating going on this year at Elite Series events. A lot.
There is.
Do you intentionally avoid that? Like stay out of that?
No, I mean, you got to know what's going on. You got to be well informed. I mean, you got to be educated on all subjects. You got to know what's going on here and there. But at the same time, you can't lose sleep over anything. Because it is fishing. I mean, you can't let little things bother you. We're all gonna die one day. Why let little things bother you? I mean, I'm gonna make a living fishing is what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to catch as many bass as I can, and not let the little things bother you. You got to stay informed, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's only about you, fishing wise. Don't worry about anybody else. So it's about you and your family, and that's how I look at it. Try to catch them.
I think that's a good way to live life, to be honest, dude.
Absolutely, it is.
I mean,
you got to look out for everybody, and you got to listen. You got to be nice. You got to be caring, and you got to look out for other people. If I see somebody broke down in the water, every time I pull over and ask them, are you okay? Do you need help or something? But at the same time, at the end of the day, it's just like when you're fishing, you just don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. How are they catching them? What else is going on in the industry? Just worry about how are you going to catch your next fish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the world in general spends way too much time worried about what I don't agree with what that person's doing. Well, you don't have to.
You're
not doing
That's
that.
His
That person's doing it. Like there's a bunch of people that think what we do is stupid. We go fishing like that. Well, why? I think it's the coolest freaking thing on earth. And I don't you know what I mean? And you can make that analogy to anything. It's good. You have I think you've always kind of been this way. You're kind of a old young man in the way that like you'd
I
rather
feel
have a
old
phone call
sometimes.
than a text.
No doubt. I will talk all day on the phone, but text is just, I do text, but at the same time, I mean, it's just, I'm bad at responding. So yeah, if you want to get in contact, reach out
We'll put
via
his
phone
number
call.
in the contacts.
Do not do that. I had to get a new phone. I probably need to get a new phone and just start over. Be like, I got a new phone. Sorry I didn't respond. It'd be a lot easier.
1400's excessive though,
It
dude.
is
Come on.
excessive. Yes, I know. I apologize to everybody out there. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, after we're done here, you should just go sit on the couch and do nothing.
For 3 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, wow, that's a lot of text. That's a lot. What's the future for you? What is your dream, your goals? 10 years, 15 years from now.
Being able to make a happy living fishing, have a great, healthy, happy family. I don't know, just being able to just be successful in fishing. I want to win a Bassmaster Classic. I want to win an A.O.Y. I don't know which one I want to win more right now. I want to win the A.O.Y. That's the one I really want because that's consistency, but both of them are just super important. I mean, I feel like the Classic's a bigger trophy. It's more impactful, so that's the one I really want to win. And I want to break some records. You know, I mean, I want to win a lot more blue trophies. But being able to make a healthy living and be able to provide for my family with a rod and reel. I mean, to be able to do that in 10 years, hopefully make the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame one year. I mean, that's 20 years down the road, but I don't know. Hunt in the off season, have a good time, and just kind of enjoy life. I mean, like I said, we're all gonna die one day, so might as well enjoy what we do.
Enjoy life. That's a good way to
Enjoy
live life. Enjoying it. Um, I got
Eat,
to, I
drink,
always
and be
forget.
happy, right?
Yeah, sure. All about that. I got to ask you a question, and this
Yep.
is going to allow you to answer a question. You answer a question, you get to ask a question. I'm bad at this. This is a tradition we started on this show, and I probably do it once a month. But so you're going to answer a question from Zona, who did not know who was going to be asked this question. And then I'm going to allow you to ask a question for our next guest, who you don't know who it is. But here's the question. In typical Zona fashion, it's not a simple question.
Oh gosh.
What's happening up here? What's going on in your mind?
Pure chaos. I mean, it's like when you see like a bullet enter like a steel room and it's like going all over the place ricocheting. That's how my mind works. I feel like it's a thousand ideas in a million different directions. And it's chaos. It's worried about what's the next tournament going to be? What do I have to get done today? Um, it's completely scatterbrained. Um, ADD at its finest. And then I'm going to go outside. I'm going to tinker with tackle. I'm going to go help dad plant a food plot in a little bit. I got to go unload a fridge. Um, I got to go feed Shep in a little bit. It's just all over the place. Truly, there's not one thing it focused on at one time, probably.
Chaos.
Chaos. Pure.
All right. All right. You get to ask our next guest a question. What would it be? Any question. Dig
If
deep.
there's
Give me something
one
good.
thing in the sport of bass fishing right now, what would you change and why would you change it?
It's a good question.
I don't know. Well, what would it be?
What would you change?
I asked the question.
Yeah, but you get to answer it right now.
No, that's not what you said. Not
All right. All right. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. Um,
all questions need answers.
wow. That's deep. I'll make sure to get you an answer from our next guest. Not sure who it's going to be, but dude, I think what you've accomplished is amazing. I think what you continue to accomplish is amazing, but I think a lot of it seems more simple when you get inside your head and you just realize that when you're just focused on doing your job and being a good part of the world, things get better. And that's one of the most upsetting things I think that's happening in social media. It's one of the things that I love this. I love hosting a podcast. Do you know what I hate? I hate the feeling that if I don't just ride life in the gutter, I don't have a good podcast. Like it just seems like the world.
That's
like
where
this,
they want to. That's where that's what. Watch the news.
yeah.
The news is very popular because what is it? Negativity. There's nothing on there hardly positive. It'll be a 30-minute show and there's one minute segment maybe of something positive. You know, it's just that's what fuels the audience. So that's what people want to see, and it's that's why I don't watch the news no more. Turn the Weather Channel on, watch the weather for a little bit. I get on social media just a little bit, and it's usually just to watch some stupid reels. It's pretty funny sometimes, and then go about my day.
It's a good way to live life. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, so enjoy the rest of your day.
Dave, I'll do it. You do the same. See you, bud.
See ya. Thank you, Patrick Walters, for a great conversation. I thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, if we earned a like and a comment, please make sure to help stroke the algorithm, as I always ask you to do. And until next time, have a great week. Enjoy being, and as always, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?